Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be unboxing this brand new Rapido GP38 in the BNSF Heritage 1 scheme. This is equipped with LokSound, DCC and sound, and Rapido's new power capacitors. And real quick, while I have you here, do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoy, and without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, as you can see, this is BNSF 2157 in the Heritage 1 scheme. I purchased this model from Iron Planet Hobbies for approximately $240 with shipping. There was a discount, so that price was a little bit lower. But let's take a look at the box here. Looks very nice. Standard Rapido stuff here with the model nicely outlined on the front here and also on the sides with just the model information here in the back. This box is a little bit of damage in the top corner, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and lift off the top here. And we've got some stickers. Rapido's no longer including parts diagrams with their models, so you can find that online. The operator's manual is right here. This is only in English, as opposed to some other Rapido manuals that also came in French. Here's a quick overview of the DCC functions. You remove this foam, and then we have our first look at the model here. Some nice protective casing. Let's check our special pocket here. We've got some drop steps for the front and rear walkways, and looks like probably some bearing caps here as well. Pulling the model out just like that. We have the standard clamshell packaging. Go ahead and pull the top sleeve off like that. We have some soft plastic here as well, and then we have the model. Alright, and now let's go ahead and remove the handrail foam. These are metal handrails, so they should stay pretty straight during shipping. Be careful about this piece of foam here. There is a grab iron just behind it, and you don't want to damage that, or most importantly, the railing here. And there we have it. All right, I've just moved it into some better lighting here so we can take a closer look at this model. First off, I love the Heritage 1 paint scheme, the H1 scheme for BNSF. One of my favorites here. This is a standard GP38, so not a GP38-2. There are lots of small printings that are legible in person that might not show up perfect on camera, but they look fantastic. One thing to note, be careful when picking up the model, as there is a speed recorder on this axle here. That's a very fine wire, so just be careful not to damage that as well. Looking at this side of the locomotive, we have great details such as the fuel gauges and some warning labels along the hood here. Additionally, moving to the front, Rapido does have a few different versions of the GP38. So this BNSF version has a headlight that has been relocated down to the nose and blanked out class lights, and does include ditch lights. This is because it is an X-Pen Central model, so that's why we have those blanked out features. We have very nice MU cables, a metal coupler. This is where that drop step will go, which I can install later. We do have multiple grab irons on this side of the nose, and all the painting across the model looks very sharp. Let's take a quick look at the other long hood of the model here. Once again, very nice labels present, as well as the truck detail, which looks fantastic. Take a quick spin here to the rear. Just like on the front, we do have operating number boards, a rear headlight, and the ditch lights on the back here as well. You can see more cable detail, which have little white tips on the end, as well as the metal coupler from Rapido. And like I mentioned before, all of the handrails across the model are metal, which make it look fantastic. If we take a quick look at the roof, we do have 3 fans, the long hood mounted horn. We have a nice grab iron here along the rear, an antenna over the cab there. Something that's very nice with these fans, they are accurate. They do have the correct number of blades, and they are Canon fans, which were installed after the initial Rapido model had a few complaints online about that. I'll leave it at that. So I'll take you up here. We'll take a quick look. Looks very nice. While I have you, you can take a look at some of this truck detail. We do have sanding lines, very fine, at the front and rear of each truck. This was a production sample that I saw in person in Dallas when Rapido was there. So I'm very happy to see this once again in my collection. That's probably why I bought it, because I saw it and it looks so good. One other thing inside the cab we'll take a look at in a second. The control stand lights do light up, and they look very good. That's something I've only seen on the Scaletrains museum quality line. So it's really cool to see that move down into the lower price point models. And finally, let's take a quick look at the underside of this model. Always the scariest part, putting the locomotive on its side. But we do have nice traction motor detail even on the very bottom. There's some molding in there. It does say Rapido on the bottom of the fuel tank. We do have some nice piping and the under-mounted bell here. I'll take you zoom in just a second. We can see that the steps are see-through. Something I forgot to mention, the walkway all around the locomotive is pleated, which looks very nice. So let's move in and take a quick look. Looks fabulous on the underside. Here's just another view of the side of the locomotive. Now let's go ahead and show you the sounds. All right, let's take a quick look at the DCC and sound features here. One thing I did forget to mention, I did give all the wheel sets a quick measure with my Lombard Hobbies track gauge, and they were all in gauge, which is fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and do a quick demo of the DCC and sound features. Now, I don't have a full layout here. I'm just going to give you a quick demo on the floor, but I think it will suffice here. So when we turn the track power on, you'll notice that the number boards and the walkway lights will come on. It's a little hard to see here in the light, and I'll do one as dark as I can in just a moment. But this locomotive is programmed to address 03 out of the box, like most other DCC locomotives. You can go ahead and press function 8 to go ahead and start up the engine. All right, now let's go ahead, press F0 for the front headlight. Function 6 will do directional ditch lights. Now F1, the bell. Function 2 is the horn, which will go off as long as you hold down the button. Function 3 is flange squeal, which operates only when you're moving. Function 4 similarly is the dynamic brake. But function 5 is my favorite, the Doppler horn. Let's give that a listen. And the will repeat if you do not turn it off after that fourth horn play. Function 6, like we mentioned, is the directional ditch lights. 7 will dim the headlights. You can just barely see that there. And function 8 is your muting and startup shutdown button. We're going to go ahead and mute here, and we'll give a quick demonstration of the other functions. So when standing still, pressing function 8 will shut down the locomotive. If you're moving, function 8 will just mute it. Function 9 is your drive hold, which functions as when you're moving, it will keep that speed step until you release, and it will jump up to the next speed step you select. Function 10 are the directional class lights, which we do not have on this model as they're blanked out. Function 11 is the rotary beacon, which we do not have. I do have the Burlington Northern model of this, but there's some programming issues right now, so I'm going to review that one later. But that'll be your beacon on F11. Function 12 is neat. It is the switch mode that turns off the headlights on both sides, so as not to blind your crew if you're doing switching operations. You press that again to bring them back up. Function 13 is the rear headlight, which we'll take a moment look at in just a sec, and the rear end. 14 and 15 are the front and rear class lights, which we do not have on this model. And 16 and 17 are the front and rear ditch lights, which we do have, and you can toggle them on. So even if you're moving forwards, you can have the rear ditch lights on as well. Function 18 are the walkway lights and the control stand lights, which I'll zoom in the cab here in a second. We'll take a look. Function 19 is the number boards, which we can turn off manually. They are on by default. Function 20 is the air compressor. And now, for my favorite part, function 21.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our chief weapon is surprise. Surprise and fear. Fear and surprise are two weapons. Our fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency are three weapons. Our fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope are four. No. Amongst our weaponry are such elements as fear. I'll come in again.
Little Easter egg for you. Here's function 22. And 23.
Can't touch this.
It's fantastic. If I take a look at the DCC function list, you'll notice that functions 21 through 23 are skipped in the list. There's a quick overview of the whole thing once again. And now let's get it powered up and let's run it around a little bit and show you how it operates. So I'll press F8 to bring it back up. I'll move to speed step 10. It does have phenomenal slow speed control, which is important as a GP series, as a yard switcher, 4-axle yard switcher. Move it up to about 25% here. This is currently operating on 22-inch curves, but since it's a 4-axle locomotive, there should be no issues with it on 18-inch curves. It does have some nice momentum, which you can change through CVs. We'll go ahead and switch directions here. We'll see the rear headlight and ditch lights come on. Go ahead and bring it back. Your speed step 10 in reverse. If you saw those lights flashing a little bit, it's just a camera frame rate thing. They are fully solid in person. The one on the far side is a little more yellow than the right, but I believe that's probably just an issue with my model. Move up to 25% once again. You take a quick look inside the cab. You just notice those control stand lights. I'll zoom in a sec here. But it does run very smooth and sounds phenomenal. So if I take a look here, you can see the control stand lights in the fully detailed cab, which is such a cool feature. Here's just a quick look at the lights on the rear of the model. Currently I'm in reverse, so you can see that I currently have it set up in the directional headlight and ditch light setup. But if I go ahead and flip it to forwards, you'll see both of them come off. But if I press function F13, I can force the rear headlight on, and pressing F17 will turn on the rear ditch lights. So even though I'm currently in the forward operating condition, I can have both those on. Pressing 13 will turn off that rear headlight, and 17 will turn back those rear ditch lights back off. If I flip back to reverse, we've got directional ditch lights once again. And I'd like to briefly show off the capacitors here as well. So if I go ahead and start the locomotive with F8, I'm going to give it a sec. And I'm about to press the track off button on my controller, and we'll do a quick demo on how long the capacitors last. So I have just turned off the track power now. So you get a good few seconds at full sounds with those capacitors, which is fantastic over dirty or imperfect electrical connections. So it's a really cool feature that Rapido included on this model. All right, and I think that'll wrap up my review of this model. Didn't want it to be a little too long, but there's definitely some features I didn't call out specifically on this model. There's just so many, and they're all very well done, which I'm very pleased to have this model. Things to note if you're looking into buying this one that would set it apart from maybe an Atlas or an athearn model. Things like the metal handrails, the included capacitors. If you really like LokSound, I didn't mention that. This comes with LokSound 5. Things like all the separately applied brass detail bits, correct fans, just to name a few. But overall, this model looks fantastic. It runs very well for me. And my experience with Rapido, going through them with the issues I'm having with the Burlington Northern unit I purchased, the sister unit, number 2158. I hope to have a review of that coming soon once I've figured out those issues. But all in all, I'd say this model is worth it. This video was not sponsored in any way by Iron Planet Hobbies. It'd be cool if it was. But they were, as of the date of this recording, running a 10% off Rapido sale, so I was able to pick this model up at a bit of a discount. I did want number 2157. My very first locomotive was an athearn GP38-2 number 2257, so it was close enough that it just brought back memories, and I really just needed to have it. Once again, very, very happy with this model. Hope this review may have helped you out if you decide to go ahead and buy one of these. But if you made it to the end here, do me a favor, hit subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed, drop me a comment if you have any questions. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, and hope you have a great day. See you in the next one.